Desperate civilians trapped in eastern Aleppo in December. Families run for their lives as the battle for the city reaches its climax. Before thousands of them left the place they called home, fleeing the fighting with whatever they could carry. Now a UN panel says the mass evacuation was a war crime.
The Commission notes that the evacuation agreements to move civilians out of eastern Aleppo amount to the war crime of forced displacement. This was the conclusion of the Commission, and we stress that civilians were not given the choice to remain in these areas as part of those local agreements.
The 37-page report also describes the battle war for Aleppo as a stage of unrelenting violence in which daily bombings left all the hospitals in the area out of service. The eastern part of the city endured months of siege and aerial bombings by Russian and Syrian forces. Homes emptied of families, some of which will never return. Near Aleppo's airport, a warehouse complex was used as a shelter for thousands who were forced to camp out on concrete floor in the bitter cold. The Commission also condemned brutal tactics used by pro-government forces, which it accused of deliberately starving civilians. It singled out an airstrike on a humanitarian aid convoy which killed a number of aid workers.
No one is safe from an attack in Syria. In one of, if not the most egregious attacks investigated by the Commission, the Syrian Air Force ruthlessly targeted a United Nations Syrian Arab Red Crescent humanitarian convoy as it prepared to deliver aid to opposition-held areas. Almost no one was left unscathed.
He went on to say 14 aid workers were killed, 17 trucks of aid items were destroyed, and civilians all across Syria suffered from the suspension of delivery of humanitarian aid that followed. The report states a damning verdict on all parties in the final chapter of the battle for Aleppo, that civilians caught up in the fighting between July and December 2016 were the victims of serious violations of international laws.
Ignition. Lift off.
If you don't represent women in politics,